1,000 new homes and by creating 5,000 new hostel bed spaces. The Shadow Housing Secretary, John Healy, joins me now. Eradicating rough sleeping within 5 years is quite a bold claim. It's also an expensive one, Mr Healy. How are you going to do it and pay for it?
Well, it shames us all that we have seen over the last 10 years the number of people living and dying on our streets double. And we now almost 2 a week die homeless in this country, decent as well off as ours. It needs a plan. Action on all fronts. It'll be led by the Prime Minister with a new task force to do that. Investment in new modern hostels to try and replace some of the 9,000 beds we've lost over the last 10 years. Fresh funding for homelessness services to try and make good the cuts for emergency shelter and support that is lacking at present. And also, we can save lives this winter. And we've got plans for an emergency programme to make sure that that accommodation and support helps get people off the streets and keeps them off the streets when the nights turn cold, like they did last night.
Nobody wants to see people homeless on the streets, but in terms of the numbers, Crisis, the charity, have put a figure of £9.9 billion over 10 years. You have earmarked £1 billion from council budgets to support this. Councils don't have a spare £1 billion sloshing around to pay for this, do they? Is it realistic?
No, indeed, and that's why we said we'll put an extra £1 billion a year by the end of the Parliament to councils earmarked for these frontline homelessness services. That's what's been stripped away over the last 10 years, and part of the problem and the root cause of the rising rough sleeping that we've got now. And we have to reverse that if we want to reverse and end rough sleeping. But it requires a capital programme to invest in new hostels. It also requires action alongside charities to make sure that as the winter draws in, we don't have people dying on our streets. And we could save lives this winter if we get a Labour government ready to act in this way on all fronts. And I describe this as a new moral mission, because it really does shame us that in a country like ours, that we have people dying on our streets in these numbers. And it's true, every Conservative government leaves us with higher homelessness. We saw it before, we see it now.
Sajid Javid was just speaking to us about this. He claimed